Hidden in our lakes, our ponds, and even our tap water is a silent killer, one with an almost 0% of survival. Who or what is this mysterious murderer? Naegleria fowleri, aka the brain-eating amoeba. In my research, I learned that once the amoeba enters the body, it causes an often fatal disease called primary amemic meningoencephalitis, or PAM. In this speech, I will discuss the amoeba's journey through the body, the symptoms associated with PAM, and finally, your chances of getting infected. Now, let's dive into the amoeba's path to your brain, starting with how it enters the body. In an article written in 2025, the Center for Disease Control states, Naegleria fowleri is a free-living amoeba, a kind of one-celled organism that thrives in warm, fresh waters, lakes, rivers, and hot springs. What the CDC means by a free-living amoeba is that it doesn't need to infect a victim in order to live. Usually, it doesn't. Normally, the amoeba is found eating bacteria and dividing into more of itself outside of any living organism. Unfortunately, sometimes a splashing kid or a diver not holding their nose can force the amoeba out of its natural environment and into your nasal cavity. From there, according to the same article mentioned above, Naegleria fowleri picks up the scent of a chemical compound called acetylcholine, which acts as a neurotransmitter in our bodies. But the bacteria the amoeba eats also produces it. This draws the amoeba towards the brain like a moth is drawn to a flame. Traveling along the olfactory nerve, the amoeba makes first contact with the immune system. The problem is that this is not the weak, tiny bacteria and viruses our body is used to fighting. The amoeba comes from a cell-eat-cell world. The amoeba punches through our first line of defense and continues its way towards the brain. When the first responders fail to stop the intruder, the body begins to heat up in a hope of slowing it down. But unlike most viruses that thrive in the cold, the amoeba loves the heat and begins to speed up. Then it reaches its destination and begins to chow down on neurons and brain tissue. This sends the body into a panic, and the immune system pulls all the stops. It starts its final stand against the intruder. The good news is the immune system is strong and will probably kill the original amoeba. The bad news is that with food available, the amoeba starts dividing, producing more of itself. The immune system puts up a good fight, but is eventually overpowered, and the body starts to die. That sounds awful, but how does all this look from outside the body? In a fact sheet from 2015, the Wisconsin Department of Health Services says that symptoms can be mild at first, but worsen quickly. Symptoms usually start 5 days after infection and can include headache, fever, nausea, and vomiting. According to the same fact sheet, these symptoms then start to regress to loss of appetite and a stiff neck. Near the final days of the infection, severe symptoms begin to appear. Confusion, seizures, hallucinations, coma, and finally death. Over 97% of infections result in death. And this on average occurs 5 days after symptoms start to show. Now, all this sounds really bad. So should we all be terrified of swimming? No. Because the chances of being infected with Naegleria fowleri are extremely low. In a press release from the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services in 2022, Dr. Matthew Donahue states, millions of recreational water exposures occur each year, while only 0 to 8 Naegleria fowleri infections are identified each year. For comparison, the National Weather Services reports on average 21 fatal lightning strikes in the U.S. per year. That means you're about 3 times more likely to be killed by a lightning strike than the brain-eating amoeba. In conclusion, Naegleria fowleri is a free-living organism that feeds on bacteria and warm bodies of water. It does not intentionally enter a person's body. But if under extremely rare circumstances it does end up in your nose, it'll swim up your olfactory nerve to your brain and start digging in as your immune system struggles to fight it, and ultimately ending in your untimely demise. Though, there's no real need to be scared, because based on statistics, you're 3 times more likely to die via lightning than this amoeba.